Hello everyone, welcome to Kalam's answer writing session. So yesterday we talked about Krishna Dev Raya and the answer related to Krishna Dev Raya and how he has supported the learning and literature of that particular period of time during the Vijayanagara Empire, of course. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to go back and watch that video and make short notes so that you will be able to write good answers whenever you have the opportunity. So today's question looks like a very small question. In fact, it is a one-liner question. It is asking us very straightly few things. What is it asking us? It is asking us to tell the following: clarify. You have to clarify how mid 18th century India, as in the time of 1750s, was beset with a specter of fragmented polity. Okay, so what is this question trying to ask us? This question is trying to tell us the following: if you look at the Indian subcontinent during the 1750s, the subcontinent was a fragmented polity, which is to say that there were several power centers, and this you have to establish to the examiner. And then you also have to talk about, in a small sense, the impact of this particular phenomena of fragmented polity. I want you to keep that in mind. So let us think about it this way. 1715s में क्या हो रहा था? Everybody knows that in 1757 we had the Battle of Plassey. Moving forward, in 1764 we had the Battle of Buxar, and even before that we had a lot of battles, the Anglo-Mysore wars, Anglo-Maratha wars, and so on. All these battles were there, but what I'm trying to say is all these battles are basically signifying what? There are different power centers in the country, and these people were fighting among themselves. These people were fighting among themselves for power dominance, right? And if you look at things broadly, in fact, if you look up this book called Grover and Mehta, this Grover and Mehta says that there are two kinds of powers in the country, two kinds of power dominance in the country. In fact, in the country, if you look at the polity, the political situation, there is, on one hand you have Mughals, Marathas, Nizam, Mysore, and so on. All these kingdoms are there, and they had struggled between themselves, in a manner of speaking. In fact, the Mughals and the Marathas have always been at war, in a manner of speaking. Okay, between Aurangzeb and Marathas there was a lot of tussle, right? This is the internal turmoil that was happening at that point of time. And not just that, the book, as in the book just I talked about, that is Grover and Mehta, it also talks about the parallel dichotomy, the parallel other power struggle which was between these European powers. We had several European powers who wanted to get into India, right? So one of them was English, and then you have the Dutch, Portuguese. In fact, Portuguese was the first set of people who came into India. 1498 में आए थे. And then you have French. So you have all these people who have come into India, and they wanted to assert their dominance in the country, especially because of the spice trade. They wanted to have a monopoly on this spice trade. So they started fighting among themselves, and in order to fight among themselves, they started taking sides with the people, the kings in the particular region, especially in South India, Hyderabad region, Mysore, Maratha region, and so on. So this is what the background is to this particular question. Let me just rub this off for you all. So how do we introduce our answer? What are the aspects that we have to address? So firstly, you have to first establish this part, that there was a specter of fragmented polity. Okay, this is something that you definitely have to talk about. The second thing you could talk about, which has not been asked in this question directly, but this question is trying to tell us that it is beset. By beset we mean something that is annoying. So you just have to talk about how this specter of fragmented polity has annoyed the country as such, and to do so you need to talk about the impact. You need to talk about the impact in terms of how it has hurt the peasantry, how it has led to deindustrialization, how it has led to the colonization, right? All these things can be talked about when you write your answer, and in fact when you talk about the impact, you're moving forward and telling the examiner that you understand the situation, this particular question in and out. So I'll minimize this and we will look at the introduction, body and the conclusion format for this particular answer. So this is the basic introduction, body and conclusion format that you could adopt for your answer. So what are the things that you have to address? We definitely talked about the body of the answer, body that this particular answer can take. But how do you introduce your question? In order to introduce your question and establish that the polity was a fragmented set of entities, the best thing to talk about is how India has been a united entity for a long time. In fact, if you look at the 1600s, 1500s and so on, of course the South India, the total area of South India was never under the control of the central part of Delhi. As in, Delhi never has been able to control as far as Sri Lanka and so on. I want you to keep that in mind. But I also want you to notice that there have been very strong rulers. Like we had Aurangzeb, we had Akbar. All these people have been able to control large parts of India, and people started identifying themselves with the Mughal Empire. People felt a sense of unity for being under the Mughal Empire. And this kind of sense of security, sense of unity totally disappeared as and when this fragmented situation has come up. So that's how you can introduce an answer. In fact, if you introduce your answer by giving that historical context, you can also talk about rulers like Akbar, Aurangzeb and so on. You have the opportunity to tell the examiner that you have more knowledge. See, the idea is not to dump as many facts as possible, but you have to be very tactful. You have to be very smart in terms of squeezing in information so that the examiner feels that you know a lot. Of course, you are supposed to know a lot, but your examiner also should see the fact that you know a lot, and this is the way to do it. Now let's look at the sample answer and analyze it. So here is the answer for you all. The centralized administrative system and the glory of the Mughal Empire has fragmented in the mid 18th century. So this is a very crisp introduction that he has given you all. He's not beating around the bush. He's doing it within 2 or 3 lines, which is a good practice because it is a small question. And the good thing about this particular question is that he has directly shown me that there is fragmented polity. He's talking about Bengal, Nizam, Mysore, Marathas, Mughals, Sikhs. But of course there are several other kingdoms like the Ahom kingdom. You also had smaller kingdoms in this particular area. But that is all fine. He has pointed out all the major kingdoms in the region, and he is trying to show how this is pointing out towards a fragmented polity. So he has set some context for his answer. I want you to keep that in mind. And these diagrams clearly tell the examiner that you know the in and out of it. You know where the Mysore kingdom is, the Nizam kingdom is, and so on. One might always think that what is the need to put up these things? This information is supposed to be taken for granted. No, the examiner should know that you know this information. The examiner should know that you know where the Sikh Empire is located, where the Mughal Empire was concentrated, where the Marathas were, and so on. And how will the examiner know if you don't show it? You are supposed to sell your answer, right? And this is the way to do it. Spectre of fragmented polity. Let's see how he establishes it. So firstly, he talks about the weakening Mughal rule. See, after Aurangzeb has come down, as in after the death of Aurangzeb, the people who have come up, be it Bahadur Shah, Jafar, be it any other king, they have not been as strong as any of the other previous Mughal kings. Right? They were nowhere close to Akbar, they were nowhere close to Aurangzeb or Shah Jahan and so on. So they were not able to control the area of the country, especially towards the Deccan and the south of Deccan. So the area of Mughal Empire started shrinking, and that is what you see. This is a small principality. Previously, during the times of Aurangzeb, Akbar, they used to have control a lot of area, and that was not the situation now, and this has led to a situation of fragmented polity, because if these people are not able to control that area is going to be controlled by somebody else, and people started fighting over control over that area. Several people started fighting. So this led to a situation of fragmented polity. So basically weakening Mughal rules rulers has led to this situation. And in fact, he has also talked about the situation of king makers, Sayyid brothers and so on. I want you to name some king makers in the comment section. Hussain Ali Khan, Barha and so on. I want you to name them. They are really important for your prelims examination as well. So this is what has happened internally. The Mughal rule has weakened. Moving forward, externally also we had a set of problems. There were a lot of invasions, especially by kings like Nadir Shah, Ahmad Shah Abdali and so on. And these people had a lot of resources. They came to India, they plundered and looted the country, and they've taken away a lot of wealth. Right? They've taken away a lot of wealth, especially from Delhi, and this has also led to a weakening of the Mughal Empire and the country as such. That is another reason why you have a fragmented polity. In addition to this, the Maratha Sardars were themselves divided, like the Holkers, Bhosles and so on. Before I talk about Marathas, I want you to know these prelims facts. There are 5 sects of Marathas: Holkers, Bhosles, Peshwas and so on. There are 5 sets of them. Their locations are important for prelims. Holkers are they located in Indore, Bhosles are they located in Nagpur, and who is located in Gwalior. All these things are important for your prelims. So let's talk about Maratha Sardars. If you look at the Maratha Sardars, the Peshwa, be it Bajirao, Balaji Vishwanath and so on, these people actually wanted to control the whole of India. In fact, some of them wanted to control the country from Cuttack to Attock. Attock was in the northernmost region, Cuttack was in the southernmost region. They wanted to control this whole stretch. But this never became a reality because these people lacked the unity that was required. In order to control such a huge country, the area of all this area was how much? What is the area of India, by the way? The area of India is 3.28 million square kilometers, right? So this is just a fact. And at that point of time, we had more area than this. And this area, in order to control this huge amount of area, you need to have a very strong centralized administrative system, a very strong set of leaders, and this is only possible when you have well-meaning and strong personalities, and this was lacking at that point of time, especially because these Maratha Sardars, especially the Peshwas died at a very young age. None of them have lived above 35 to 40 years. Anyway, so this has led to a specter of fragmented polity. We'll move forward. The next thing is, he's talking about erstwhile Mughal governors. So previously we said that the Mughal situation, as in the Mughal kingdom, was very centralized and there was a strong power center and so on. And this situation has broken down because these people, Mr. Nizam-ul-Mulk, Murshid Qali Khan, and then you have Sadat Khan, these people have moved away from the Mughal principalities. They started going to the different areas of the country and they started setting up their own principalities. Like for example, Nizam-ul-Mulk has set up Hyderabad, Murshid Qali Khan has set up Bengal, and they have for all practical purposes declared independence. But of course they did not clearly say that we are an independent kingdom, but they maintained independence while accepting the nominal suzerainty of the Mughals. I want you to keep that in mind. So because of this Mughal governors, the fragmented polity became a reality. So now he's moving forward and he's talking about the other dichotomy that was there, the other parallel development that was going about at that particular period of time. You had the Britishers, the Dutch, the French, etc. So these people came into India and they wanted to control huge parts of India, especially for the spice trade. Of course, when they wanted to start controlling the country, initially it was to control the spice trade, but over a period of time it was because they wanted to control the country as such. They wanted to make this a colony. The Britishers wanted to make this a colony and deprive the country of its resources. They wanted to convert this country, the whole population into a set of people who consume the finished goods of the British Industrial Revolution, right? And India merely became a supplier of raw materials. Anyway, setting that aside, so these people wanted to control the country, and in order to do so, they started creating troubles within the country, and this led to a situation of fragmented polity. You can talk about Anglo-Mysore Wars, Anglo-Maratha Wars. Moving forward, you have the Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Buxar, which basically have paved the way for British to divide and rule. So there was already a situation of fragmented polity, and this was further fragmented by the British. And of course, when the British moved forward after the Battle of Buxar, they went through a policy of divide and rule. They started dividing the different kingdoms that were there. They started setting up one ruler against the other. They created mistrust, and this fragmentation has increased. So far, he has clearly established how the fragmentation was a reality in the country. Moving forward, he is talking about the impact here. And that is really important. Colonization, there is heavy taxation, there is looting of prosperous cities, and then there is mass murder, inflation, rapine, and so on. Transformation of life as such from independent entities to a servile citizen. Okay, we initially used to have some amount of self-respect. The Mughals used to respect the people. There is some amount of respect between the different communities that are there. There is high tolerance. Okay, but all this disappeared once the British came, and it created a lot of trouble for us. It is not to say that everything was bright and green during the Mughal rule. There was always some amount of bigotry in whichever place it was. But after the Britishers came, the situation became markedly difficult, is what I'm trying to establish. And whether you agree to it or not, whatever your personal opinion is, you have to write that in the examiner, because you can't support the British saying that the Britishers have done well in terms of colonizing India, because that is absolutely wrong. So moving forward, let us see what he has done. This conclusion is particularly good because he is talking about post-independence. This fragmentation has only been solved by united by forces of Indian national movement. Good. So this fragmentation stayed for about 200 years. The Britishers came in 1757. The Congress was formed in 1885. Moving forward, we had a strong set of movements like the non-cooperation, civil disobedience, and so on. But moving forward, after independence, we started solidifying this entity. We wanted to create a single structure and a united India, and that we successfully did, especially because of Sardar Patel. So this question, although it was about the topic on 1750, he has used his knowledge on post-independence, and he has talked about unity, nationalization, and so on. And let's see what he says. Sardar Patel consolidated all of the subcontinent to a single Bharat, as pointed out by Article 1 of our Constitution. Article 1 of our Constitution says that Bharat is a union of states. So this should be the discussion for the day. We will see the tomorrow's question. So tomorrow's question is basically a contrast. It is a contrast between Mahatma Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar. These people are extremely divergent people in a manner of speaking. That is what this question is also trying to tell us. But on one hand, while you can see them as completely different personalities with differing perspectives, on the other hand, you could also say that they are two sides of the same coin. And this same coin, what is this particular coin? This coin is the upliftment of a human person, of a human dignity. So they worked in different ways, but they wanted to achieve the same common goal of human welfare, is what he's trying to ask you, is what he's asking you to establish. And think about this question, spend some time on it, and then write down in your comment section if you can, and I'll evaluate as usual. So that should be the discussion. We'll meet again.